Let's be brutally honest. Have you ever met someone, you've known them 5 days, 1 date, 46 messages, and you've planned your wedding, picked your baby names, imagined introducing them to your friends, decided where you'll live, and mentally spent Christmas with their family? Meanwhile, they haven't even replied to your last message? If so, welcome. Today, we're talking about why some of us go from 0 to emotionally homeless in record time, why we get attached so quickly, why attention feels like a drug, why we create entire relationships in our heads before one exists in real life, and most importantly, how we stop. Welcome back to Unhinged but Healing, the podcast where we laugh at our emotional damage while actively trying to fix it. Today's episode is for the people who get one compliment and immediately start emotionally furnishing a future together. So, why do we go from 0 to 100 so fast? I think one of the biggest lies people tell themselves is, I got attached because they were amazing. No, most of the time we got attached because they made us feel something, and those are two very different things. Because let's be honest, at the beginning of dating, you know absolutely nothing. Nothing. You know their favourite takeaway, their star sign, maybe what car they drive. You don't know how they handle disappointment, how they behave during conflict, whether they're consistent, whether they're trustworthy, whether they're emotionally mature. How do they behave when they're angry? For all you know, he eats crayons when nobody is looking. Yet somehow we're already emotionally invested. Why? Because the brain is not attaching to facts. The brain is attaching to feelings. And feelings are powerful because feelings create stories. The second somebody gives us attention, affection, consistency, validation, our brain starts creating a future. Not because we're stupid, but because prediction is literally what the brain does. The brain constantly asks, what happens next? And if you're somebody who is naturally hopeful, your brain doesn't predict reality, it predicts possibility. So it starts writing the story for them. The man knew you first name and suddenly you're imagining matching Christmas pyjamas. The brain says, well, he seems nice, and somehow translates that into, clearly he's a wonderful father, emotionally available, financially stable, and an excellent at assembling IKEA furniture. No evidence, just vibes. Your brain doesn't date, it writes fan fiction. Most people think they're obsessed with a person, but often they're obsessed with dopamine. So let's break that down. Every notification, every text, every compliment, every good morning, every little sign of interest, your brain rewards you. Tiny dopamine hit, tiny dopamine hit, tiny dopamine hit. And before you know it, you've accidentally turned a stranger into a slot machine. Because you're not in love, you're gambling. But you start checking your phone constantly. Did they reply? Did they view it? Did they like it? Did they react? And the scary thing, the unpredictability actually makes it stronger. Psychologically, random rewards create stronger addictions than guaranteed rewards. That's why people get addicted to gambling. And that's why people become obsessed with inconsistent people. Because consistency feels calm. Inconsistency feels exciting. And certainty feels safe, whereas potential feels exciting. Your nervous system interprets uncertainty as importance. And reality requires patience. And most of us don't want patience. We want answers immediately. Your attachment style saw a red flag and thought, finally, a challenge. But why does attention feel like some sort of love crack? Let's talk about attention, because attention is not love. But some of us treat them like identical twins. But if you have spent years feeling invisible, overlooked, rejected, criticised, attention can feel identical to love, because attention answers a very old question. And that question is, do I matter? And when somebody gives us attention for a moment, the answer feels like yes, which is why one person can text, good morning, beautiful, and suddenly your mood improves for 12 hours. So some of us treat attention like proof. Somebody replies quickly, we're interested. Somebody calls us beautiful, we're invested. Somebody remembers our coffee order and we're updating the Pinterest wedding board. One compliment and you're acting like you've renewed your vows. Because the attention isn't just attention, it's validation, it's proof, it's reassurance, it's emotional oxygen. And when you've been emotionally deprived, you'll mistake oxygen for a soulmate, and that becomes addictive. Why do we fall for potential? Well, let's discuss potential, the most dangerous drug known to women. Potential has started more bad relationships than red flags ever have, because potential allows you to create a version of somebody that doesn't exist. For example, he texts consistently for 3 days and suddenly he's emotionally mature. He asks about your day and suddenly you've never felt so understood. He owns a vacuum cleaner and suddenly he's husband material. His standards are in hell and somehow we're still impressed. Potential is dangerous because it's impossible to disappoint you. Reality can. And do you know what's funny? Half of the time we're grieving somebody we never actually met. We're grieving who we thought they were, who we hoped they'd become, and what we imagined was possible. Not who they actually proved themselves to be. You're not attached to him, you're attached to the character that you've written. Potential is seductive because it requires no evidence. Reality requires evidence, but potential requires imagination. And imagination is fun. Reality says, let's wait and see. Potential says, let's build a future immediately. Reality wants references, while potential has hired him on the spot. But the problem with potential is, potential can become fantasy, and fantasy is always perfect. Fantasy can never forget your birthday. It never avoids communication, ghosts you, disappoints you, because fantasy only exists inside your head, which is why people often become attached before they've gathered enough information. And this is where it gets embarrassing, because some people don't date people, they start dating their imagination. They're dating possibility, not reality. But why? Why does this happen? Because attention validates us. It temporarily answers the question, am I wanted? And if you've ever struggled with self-worth, loneliness, rejection, abandonment, attention feels incredible. Not because of who it's from, because of what it means. Sometimes we're not addicted to the person, we're addicted to feeling chosen. And sometimes it isn't even the person, it's just what they represent. Hope, distraction, validation, escape. But you don't want him, you want the personality that you've assigned him. Because the dopamine isn't coming from them, it's coming from what their attention is making us feel. Because let's be honest, you don't miss him, you miss the notifications. So why do lonely people attach faster? And this is important. Nobody talks about this enough. Loneliness speeds everything up. Because lonely people don't just meet a person. They meet relief. They meet relief from boredom, loneliness, uncertainty, sadness. And suddenly this person becomes attached to all those positive feelings. You didn't want him, you wanted a distraction with a jawline. And that's why when they leave, it feels devastating. Because you're not losing one thing, you're losing hope, distraction, possibility, fantasy, all at once. So why do we ignore the red flags? When we're attached to possibility, reality becomes inconvenient. The red flags weren't hidden, you just filed them under, future me can deal with that. And the brain does something fascinating. Once we emotionally invest, we start protecting the investment, which means we explain away behaviour, we justify, we minimalise, we excuse, because accepting reality would mean giving up the fantasy, and humans hate losing fantasy. But let's clear something up. Not everything that feels intense is a connection. Sometimes it's loneliness, sometimes it's chemistry, sometimes it's validation, sometimes it's trauma, recognising familiarity. But just because it feels familiar doesn't mean it's healthy. My worst decisions felt familiar too. We mistake attention for effort, chemistry for compatibility, intensity for intimacy, but they're not the same. And one of the biggest mistakes people make, that I've never felt this strongly before. Strong feelings are not proof. They're information. I've had strong feelings about people who absolutely should have come with a warning label. So let's get practical. How do we actually reset? We need to set ourselves rules. Rule number 1, stop confusing chemistry with character. Just because he gives you butterflies doesn't mean he won't give you anxiety. Chemistry isn't everything. Ted Bundy had chemistry. Number 2, separate facts from fantasy. Ask, what do I know? Not, what do I think? Remember that attractions arrive date 1, character arrives around date 12. Rule number 3, watch consistently for at least 90 days. Not chemistry, not butterflies, not excitement, consistency, because anybody can be amazing for 2 weeks, even me. Rule number 4, build a life so full that somebody complements it, not becomes it. Rule number 5, stop making future plans with strangers. If you've known him 4 days, 2 weeks, 1 month, please stop naming children and planning holidays. Rule number 6, keep your own life. The fastest way to become obsessed with someone is having nothing else going on. If your whole day becomes waiting for texts, checking social media, analysing messages, you're feeding the obsession. You don't need another talking stage, you need hobbies. Rule number 7, delay emotional investment and wait for your post-nut clarity. Just because somebody is interested doesn't mean they've earned access to your deepest wounds, future plans, and favourite baby names. If you get attached quickly, I don't think that you're broken. I don't think that you're needy, and I don't think that you're crazy. I think you're human. I think you're hopeful. I think that you love deeply. I think you see possibility everywhere, and I think that you want connection. But possibility is not proof, and not everybody deserves immediate access to that part of you. And somebody earning your attention is not the same as somebody earning your trust. The goal isn't to become cold, and the goal isn't to stop caring. The goal is to slow down long enough to discover who somebody actually is before you hand them access to your heart. Most people aren't addicted to the person, they are addicted to the feeling of being wanted, the feeling of that possibility, the feeling that maybe this time it'll be different. But the next time you meet someone, don't ask, do they like me? Ask, do I actually know them? Remember, attraction grows fast, understanding takes time. Stop interviewing people for the role of soulmate before they've passed the role of decent human. If you've ever mentally moved in with someone after 3 business days, this episode was for you. Because healing isn't always graceful, but slowing down might save you a lot of therapy bills. I'll see you in the next episode.